Well, welcome to the channel, Dr. J.W. Morrison, theologist, Central Coast, New South Wales, Australia. Thank you for the comments, and if you haven't already, subscribe to Pro Theologist or Pro Bricky channel, whichever you have received this video through. We've had developments in the predictable developments in the Fatima payment situation, typical trust on behalf of the Prime Minister. She has left the Labor Party and has gone independent. This will now give her the opportunity to start a possibly Muslim, by the sound of it, influenced party. We'll see. We'll wait and see. There's definitely more going on than meets the eye. We have forgotten, as Australians ourselves, we have completely forgotten that Israel and Palestine are a matter within themselves on the other side of the world. And we have to act accordingly to that, whether we... I think the only opposition that Australians have got, I'm just a normal, everyday, part Aboriginal, part Lebanese, Australian, part English Australian, is that you don't want innocent people being killed, right? This is the crux of it all. And all this kerfuffle, where we've had a Muslim senator being given the trust to come into the Australian Senate and act as a person who is interested in Australian politics. Primarily, that's the object of it all. And wants to serve as an Australian senator relative to things that matter to Australia. This lady's come in with that, been given that privilege and trust, and this is what we're talking about with Hamas. Can you imagine this going on at an Australian music festival, right? This is what's happened in Israel without any warning. And what I'm saying to you is, who has started, who continues and inevitably keeps going with the violence and the terrorism? It's not the Israelis. The Israelis are trying to stop the terrorists. Now, has this got to do with the Palestinian people? No, it's got to do with the Palestinian terrorists, right? Let's not get this confused. This is footage from the music festival where people are being murdered. And it went beyond all this. And these people who really don't know what the reality of the nastiness, the wickedness and the evil and the genocide attitude towards Israel is by these Palestinian terrorists, have no idea what there they are, just shooting at people, driving past, they've been killed. Could you imagine this going on in Australia? Look, this is the violence that these people love to, the atrocities these people love to perform, okay? Now this woman, Fatima Payment, for all the good intention and privilege, has done the predictable. She has had an agenda that's really got nothing to do with Australian politics relative to the welfare and security of Australia. This is possibly where Australia could end up. I mean, we're so weak now, we'll be hiding under, if we're not careful, and our enemies come for us, we'll be no different to this. We'll be running and scurrying and trying to find somewhere to hide. And I know it, and I'm not saying this as a joke. This could quite easily be what happens here in some Sydney cities, quite easily, where these people are living now, let's just be honest, and other parts of Australia. This lady's actually from Western Australia. With the way Western leadership is portraying itself at the moment, which is very weak and feeble and unsure about itself, and unsure about whether she just got taken away, unsure about whether they're male or female. Could you imagine yourself being hauled away by a group of terrorists like this? Look, these people, by the way, were in Sydney. This is in Sydney, okay? These people are in Sydney. Don't underestimate or think that they're not. This woman could start a Muslim party tomorrow without any trouble whatsoever, and these people would be in Parliament, would be the secondary level for the leader they've got now in Parliament. This is Sydney, okay? This is Sydney, Australia, okay? And this is what this woman's upset about, that we're not complying with these beliefs. Now, the problem's not the Palestine or Palestinian people. It's the terrorists, the fanatics, the people that want to harm, maim and injure people. Right? This is Australia. This is happening in Australia. Right? Look at it. We've never seen anything of the likes of this. And, you know, these policemen and police women shouldn't be subject to this. My daughter's a policewoman. I wouldn't want her subject to this, right? They've got no respect for Australian culture, for the Australian way. I just had a comment, which I'll put up, from some clever, I'm not sure who the person was or what they're trying to get across, but let me just show you. It was a very clear comment here. I would say it's a Muslim. I doubt that you're a professional theologian or a professional at anything. Right? This is the mentality that you're dealing with. You should blame the decline in Christendom on its own internal divisions and issues. Now, I'm not sure what any of this has got to do with what I was talking about, but this shows you the steadfast, militant mentality of those that oppose Christians. And let me say to you, Geezy, this is an Australian Christian nation. Australia is a Christian nation with a constitution built on Christian values, not Muslim ones. And I'm sorry if that offends you, but maybe you might need to have a closer look at what your agenda is for Australia. He says, I'm not sure if board shorts and flip-flops are the Australian way. Well, this tells me this person is not of the, Australian origin. They are the way of the Anglo. I've never heard that before. I'd say they're the way of the surfer, my friend. Unless you are a native Indigenous Australian, which I am, part 11%, you do not have the authority to make decisive calls on what is and what is not. This guy might be Aboriginal. Don't know. I used to go to the boys' home and help and sit and play table tennis with the boys in the boys' home. They don't know about any of this. Perhaps you ought to redefine yourself as an amateur armchair theologian. Well, I'm happy to do that. I've got no problem with that. So these... Oh, that might have been the video with Lydia Thorpe. I don't know. Which was another similar breakaway case like this. You could go on for hours about all this and what's happening in across Australia. But Fatima Payman has now broken away, and we're going to listen to her.
It emerged to challenge the notion that politics belong solely to the privileged few and fulfill the promise of our lucky country, a land of opportunity, a land of harmony, and a land of equality.
I don't think it is. I think it's what Australia is pursuing and has always pursued and tried to keep and maintain. But as you could see, when you get these people that do not want to culturalise into the Australian way, you're going to have clashes. You're going to have terrible clashes. No different to the clashes between the Hamas Palestinians and the Israelis. Now, this is the problem. We've got people coming to Australia that are not of the Australian way, right? They don't want to culturalise. They come in and they just sit as functioning opposers in a covert fashion. And it's not until they show their agenda like this woman has against all the trust and support that she was given that their true colours come out. Her agenda right from the start was to build a Muslim political party in Australia.
It is a party I've proudly served. The ongoing genocide in Gaza.
Now, this is the point. If it is a party that she's proudly served, what's the big issue? She's turned immediately to Palestine. See, Anthony Albanese hasn't been fully on board with the nation of Israel. And this woman would know that, and this has probably egged her on a bit. Listen to this report.
These protesters are emboldened by the Labor government. We have seen this with anti-Semitism in the country being allowed to flourish. Once the horse has bolted, there's no going back because it has been allowed to go on for so long, it's now impossible to crack down. And what sort of a message does it send pro-Hamas protesters when the Albanese government hauls in Israel's ambassador for a dressing down over his country's war in the Middle East? And they send in a junior burger minister to do it. More on that in a moment. Israeli ambassador Amir Maimon was formally summoned to a meeting in Canberra 10 days ago and warned that the Jewish state could not expect Australia's support if it goes to war against Hezbollah in southern Lebanon.
The Jewish state should not expect Australia's support if they go to war in response to a Hezbollah attack in southern Lebanon. This woman obviously has missed some key factors that are obvious, definitely obvious to everyone that Labor's not fully, definitely not on Israel's side as far as Labor's concerned, relative to their response to the terrorism that they're facing and the attempted annihilation of their state, which shows us that this woman definitely had an agenda to start a Muslim party from the start.
What an appalling move as Israel desperately fights for its own survival and as it faces a conflict now on all fronts. There are fears.
I can assure you that if we were invaded and we were running around trying to save ourselves in the bush and that of Sydney and whatnot, we'd be wanting anybody's support, right?
Of a tit-for-tat response by Hezbollah, which Australia lists as a terror organisation. And since the conflict began, 60,000 Israelis have been forced to flee northern Israel due to attacks from the Iran-backed terror group. Yet, in the event of Israel...
Now, I can guarantee you, could you imagine Hezbollah or somebody like this attacking the major cities of Australia? You wouldn't put yourself in a situation where you'd be saying, we haven't been anybody's ally and now we're at the mercy of these terrorists. That's what this man's saying. Whoever this Danica Di Giorgio says the Labor government has told Israel's ambassador to... Who told them that? Who was the senator that told them this? And where is these instructions coming from? Because now they've set us up as not being an ally of Israel.
Having to protect its citizens from yet another terror group, Australia has told the ambassador, well, don't expect our support. They want Israel to just down tools and just simply walk away. And let's not forget, it was Hamas who started this war, not Israel. Now, formally summoning an ambassador is considered a serious step in the diplomatic world. Given the gravity of such an important message that Labor chose to convey, well, you'd think they would send in the Foreign Minister Penny Wong to deliver it personally. But in fact, it was not delivered by Foreign Minister Penny Wong, but was left to Ms Wong's underling, Assistant Minister Tim Watts. How appalling. Israel's ambassador wasn't even given the courtesy of a visit by Penny Wong in person. It is a slap in the face.
I just want to say something. I'm going to stick my nose out here. Keep a very close eye on Penny Wong. Keep a very close eye on the indignant Penny Wong.
To Jewish Australians and Israel, who has been an important ally, from the Anzac in Beersheba in 1917, which ultimately helped create the State of Israel, to the present day. I mean, Israel has supported Australia, not to mention the important contribution of Jewish Australians in this country. But that's all been ripped to shreds over the course of the last 9 months by Labor. It's betrayed Israel and emboldened the anti-Semitism like what we saw today at Parliament House.
I'll tell you something. It's like having a friend that's been bashed up on the street and looking at your friend and saying, I'm not going to help you. I'll just let these people kick you to death. It's cowardly. We look like cowards, and Israel won't take this lightly.
The Foreign Minister Penny Wong needs to step up today and explain exactly what it was that her Assistant Minister Tim Watts meant when he hauled in the Israeli ambassador and told him that if our friend and ally Israel found itself in a war with Hezbollah, a listed terrorist organisation, that they could not count on our support. That is a deeply disturbing revelation. Hezbollah has been attacking northern Israel since the 7th of October every day. This is the world's best armed terrorist organisation.
The relationship between Australia and Israel, once cherished, is under more pressure than ever. It's so bad, sources have told the Daily Telegraph Mr Maimon's relationship with Senator Wong has been in the freezer for several months. It started with a limp response to the burning of the Israeli flag on the steps of the Sydney Opera House. Labor rewarded Hamas by backing Palestinian statehood at the United Nations vote.
See, this is where this woman's been exposed. Labor, the Australian Labor Party, has done everything it can to show the Australian people that there's bias towards the Palestinian people, but that also includes the Palestinian terrorists. This goes for this woman as well. She can set up a peaceful Muslim whatever she likes, right? But it will go rogue, because if you look at their countries and their nations, all they've done is destroy what they've had, including their women. They stone their women to death in certain Middle Eastern countries, right? Maybe the Minister of Victoria should look very closely at the potential of what could happen here.
Appointed a special advisor to monitor Israel's response to its airstrikes, which killed Australian Zomi Frankham, and now the summoning of the ambassador is a new low. The dressing down marks a bad flashpoint in the relationship. The horse is well and truly bolted, and I fear there is no going back.
And so do I, and that's the truth of it. Labor's made a complete fool of itself in doing this.
Is a tragedy of unimaginable proportions. It is a crisis that pieces the heart and soul, calling us to act.
Yeah, now that's fine. This is all well and good, right? This is all well and good that it pierces the heart and soul, right? That there's massive issues and all that over there. No problem with that. But this woman's an Australian politician, right? She's not visiting from the Middle East. She's an Australian, been given the privilege of Australian senator, and now she's run away with it to start a Middle Eastern campaign, a Palestinian campaign, under the banner of an Australian senator. That's, to me, is betrayal of trust.
With a sense of urgency and moral clarity.
I think that Australian has proven to have moral clarity so far as to the expense of their relationship with Israel.
We have all seen the bloodied images of young children losing limbs, being amputated without anesthetics, and
Okay, we can exaggerate all this, the horrors of the war in the Middle East, and nobody takes it lightly, and it's horrible. But she's going in the wrong direction. She should have, with the support of Labor, who obviously does have issues with Israel, set up some kind of movement to rescue Palestinians from Hamas and Hezbollah. But she's indirectly making out that Australia is not compassionate towards the people that are dying in Palestine due to the war and Israel's pursuit of the terrorists, not the Palestinian people, the terrorists, and turning this whole thing into a situation where it's happening in Australia. The war's actually happening in Australia, and it's not.
starving as Israel continues its onslaught live streamed across the world.
Yes, it is live streamed across the world, and Israel's doing everything it can to protect the civilians. We're not going to go around in circles who Hamas use as human shields, and they steal the food and support that the world and Israel is sending into Palestine. All this is being covered up. So I don't want to stress this too much because it's very heavy, but I found this footage, and this is a Palestinian woman, an elderly Gazan woman accuses Hamas of stealing aid in rare criticism. You know that all the people here cannot find... Hang on, I'm going to have to slow it down. You know that all the people here cannot find anything to eat or drink. Yes, everybody is struggling. The situation is difficult. No aid is coming in. Well, the fact of the matter was, the aid was coming in. But the Hamas terrorists were stealing it from the Palestinian people. The aid goes to the tunnels underground, right? They're taking the aid to feed the terrorists and the medicines and all the other stuff that Israel and the world's sending in. This is how out of order these people are. It does not reach anyone because it's being stolen by Hamas. We come here from Gaza City. All the aid is meant for us. I am not afraid of Hamas. I am talking to them as well. This is a Palestinian woman. This is the woman that's not in the situation this one is. All of the aid reaches the Gaza Strip, and a lot of aid is coming. It is being distributed. That's what they say. Look. Hamas take everything to their homes. They can't take me, shoot me, or do whatever they want to me. It seems that the situation is unclear. Oh, it's very clear. It's very clear. There it is, from the horse's mouth. I'm going to have to do a couple of videos on this. Let's just see what this one says.
Israel-Hamas war broke out. We have been showing you the dire humanitarian situation unfolding in Gaza. Many Gazans are now on the verge of starvation and in desperate need of all kinds of aid. But is Hamas diverting this much-needed aid from its own people? Well, Israel has been making such claims, saying that Hamas has been blocking the crucial aid and that Gazans are not its priority. Now a video has surfaced where a Palestinian woman is giving her account to an Al Jazeera journalist that all the aid that has been entering Gaza...
Look at the aid, viewers. Like, I mean, I'm not talking about a couple of packets of twisties or a few boxes of Sayos. We're talking about millions and hundreds of millions of dollars worth of aid is going in there, and it's being ransacked by the terrorists and not being shared with the civilians.
Is in fact reaching the
Look.
Hamas tunnels. A US-based press monitoring organization called the Middle East Media Research Institute has shared the video with the translation. Take a look.
Now, don't be stupid. This is what these Hamas people... Hang on.
تعرف انه كل الناس هذه ما حدش لا لاقي شرب واكل
كلهم بيعانوا
الوضع صعب لا تدخل مساعدات
ما في المساعدات كلها نازله تحت
Goes to the underground tunnels. It does not reach all the people.
انا بحكي ما بخافش منهم انا بحكي لهم كمان انا كل الدعم بيجي لقطاع غزه
كثير كثير بيوصل اللي بيوصل شيء قليل وبيتوزع هيك بيحكوا
كله للبيوت لهم خليهم ياخذون ولا يطخون ولا يعملوا اللي بدهم اياه حماس
احنا
Now, these are the scenes of desperation in Gaza, where Palestinians have now resorted to looting the small amount of aid that is able to reach them. Earlier, US officials had said they have no indication that the aid to Gazans is being diverted or blocked. However, such claims tell us a different story.
And then this.
المساعدات ما بيجوا للأمة ولا بيجي للشعب كله ما في المساعدات كلها نازلة تحت
Is humanitarian aid actually reaching Gazans? Since October 21st, the IDF facilitated the delivery of over 62.8 thousand tons of food, water, medical supplies and fuel into Gaza, aiming to aid the civilians there. However, videos online show Hamas members stealing aid from organizations and Gazans. Some Gazans even try to fight Hamas terrorists, looting from the trucks.
See, what you've got to understand is even the Palestinian people realize that the Hamas leaders of Palestine don't care about them. Okay? And what this woman's failing to describe is the fact is not the problem of the Palestinian people, it's the problem of the Palestinian terrorists.
Leaders prioritize their own gain over providing essential support to civilians. The son of the head of Hamas's Politburo, Ismail Haniyeh, purchased thousands of dollars in jewelry, while Gazans get almost nothing.
We pay the price for Hamas's actions, right? That's what that lady said. Look, we paid the price for Hamas's actions. Now, she's on the wrong path. Okay? And so, to some extent, is Labor, the Labor Party of Australia.
Despite severe shortages, reports disclose that large stockpiles of aid weren't being distributed, but were found hoarded inside an UNRWA warehouse in Gaza, awaiting transfer to Hamas. Not only are they stealing the aid, Hamas's entire game is urban warfare, firing rockets from populated areas and humanitarian zones, posing a significant threat to civilians.
See, what Hamas is doing, they hide in hospitals and humanitarian areas, and then they open attack. These Palestinian people, they haven't got a chance. They haven't got a chance against their own leaders. What's Australia got to do with any of this? Really, what's this woman doing? Labor can't support Palestine and reject Israel any more than what they already have, and I think they're completely out of order. And now this woman's playing a victim Olympics, as Sky News reported, to an extent, unprecedented extent, that I've never seen before. It doesn't make sense. It's not Australian. And I'll catch you in the next video.